Hey book lovers, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into the swoon-worthy, laugh-out-loud world of Lucy Score's romance novels. If you're a fan of small-town charm, spicy chemistry, and characters you can't help but root for, you're in the right place. I'll be ranking the books I've read so far by Lucy Score, which are considerable, and it's going to be tough because, let's face it, they're all amazing, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm author Nancy Basile, and I write murder mysteries. You can check out one of my books for free using the link in the description below. I had the opportunity to meet Lucy Score last weekend at a book signing, and let me tell you, she is just as funny in real life as she is in her writing. I could have gone to the store and bought one of her books for her to sign, but I didn't, because I read everything on an e-reader. And when I told her that, oh boy, did she troll me hard. She was hilarious. I felt a little bad, but not bad enough to run out and replace all my books. Am I a bad fan? I hope not. But that's what inspired me to rank all the Lucy Score romance novels I've read so far in this video. I will include the Goodreads ranking, my ranking, and why I like the book. If there's some you haven't read so far, I hope you find some to add to your TBR. And if you have read some of them, let me know in the comments whether you agree with my rankings or not. All right, let's break them down. At number 18 is Forever Never. This takes place on Little Mackinac Island, where everybody knows everybody, which is pretty typical of Lucy Score's books. And it's a little bit of age gap and forbidden love, and a smidge of enemies to lovers. This was one of the first Lucy Score books I read, and I wasn't crazy about it. I felt like a lot of it was repetitive. They kept getting together, splitting up, getting together, splitting up, getting together, split. And I was like, all right, we get. Let's go. It kept me from reading a bunch of Lucy Score's other books. But once I got over that and started reading her books, then I was hooked. But Forever Never, although I know it holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts, was not my favorite. It has a good read rating of 3.99, and I gave it 3 out of 5. At number 17 is Pretend You're Mine, which is the first book in the Benevolence series. Benevolence is the town where the romance takes place, and it's about National Guardsman Luke Garrison and the wild and crazy Harper, who stumbles into his life and ends up becoming his fake girlfriend and his roommate. This one was a little uneven for me. There were times that I really enjoyed it and times that I felt like the tone was a little off. And when he gets deployed, that length of time they're apart makes it difficult. I think it's tough to write a romance novel when your two main characters are separated by half a planet. But it's popular enough that it inspired more books in the series, and it has a 4.24 rating on Goodreads. I gave it a 4 out of 5. Little side note here, it looks like a bunch of her covers have been redesigned to get rid of like the couple up against the wall or the shirtless guy into the cute illustrated kind of covers. And I gotta say, I am so here for it. I love the new covers. Oh, and if you find this video helpful, give me a thumbs up. That way other romance novel readers will find it too. Okay, up next, No More Secrets, the first book in the Blue Moon series. Now, this is a long series that takes place, you guessed it, in the little town of Blue Moon. And the fun thing about Blue Moon is it's a very hippie town. So everything has a hippie vibe and a hippie name. I liked No More Secrets because it has my favorite kind of male main character, the grumpy, stoic, taciturn male who has a little bit of darkness inside of him, but is super hot. And the female character, Summer, is super smart, but she has secrets. That's the No More Secrets part. And I always have trouble when people have secrets. Like, just tell them already. The Goodreads score for No More Secrets is 4.11, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. Now, did I read more books in the Blue Moon series? No, I did not. And here's why. The second book in the series, Fall into Temptation, I was super excited about because it was about the brother of the family that the books are about, that I was really into. I really liked him. He's super snarky and sarcastic, and I don't need women and blah, blah, blah. I was really looking forward to it. And then I started listening to it. Now, I don't know if it's because I was listening to it, and maybe I would have felt different if I were reading the book, but I actually DNF'd it because I was so bored. I was so bored. It just didn't go anywhere. So after DNFing that one, I just didn't continue with any more of the Blue Moons. And there are a lot of them. So if you dig No More Secrets, you are probably going to dig the rest of the series. At number 15 is Maggie Moves On. Maggie Moves On is a lot of fun. It's about a woman who has a YouTube channel where she fixes up old houses and makes them spectacular and then sells them. And there's a fun mystery involved about the house. To top it off, she's business partners with her ex-husband. He's gay, but they got married young because he was still confused. And then when he figured it out, they decided to divorce, but they're still friends. There are a lot of characters in this book, and there is a lot happening. And the reason it's not higher on my list is because sometimes it gets way too messy. And the thing about Lucy's score, again, that sometimes I have trouble with is there's a lot of repetition. We go over the same ground a couple of times, but I still really enjoyed it. So while the Goodreads rating is for some reason 3.96, I don't know why, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Number 14 is Heart of Hope. This one deals with organ donation. So there's a little bit of fated lovers involved. There's also some secret identity. This is a recent read of mine, and I really enjoyed it. The only reason it's not higher on the list is because the ones coming up just, knock it out of the park just a little bit more. But I really enjoyed the characters in this book, and I was actually hoping this would be the first in a series, but it's not, and I don't know why. It also takes place at Christmas time, which I always love a good Christmas book. The Goodreads rating is 4.12, and I give it 4 out of 5. Number 13 in my ranking of Lucy Score romance novels is The Price of Scandal. The Price of Scandal is a little bit frustrating because the male main character goes out of his way to make himself a real jerk to the female main character. So obviously it's an enemies to lovers story. She comes from a rich family. She's a CEO. Her entire family are jerks. They got tons of money. And she had a little misunderstanding on social media. So her family hires a fixer for her. Hence the jerk male main character. And of course, their chemistry is off the charts. I enjoyed The Price of Scandal, and I liked the banter. But the best part of the book is at the end. Oh, it's so satisfying. The things that she gets to happen to the people who were running around behind her back and backstabbing her, and the stuff she says to her family. Oh, it's so good. Goodreads gives this a 4.33, and I give it a 4. Number 12 is Mr. Fixer-Upper, the first book in the King Siblings series. I say series, but I think there's only been 2. Mr. Fixer is a lot of fun. It's behind the scenes of a home renovation show. There are a lot of storylines weaved in and out of this, and I really enjoyed it because the female main character is smart and tough and ambitious and not very demure. And the male main character is grumpy as all get out. But he just can't seem to stay away from that producer. The Goodreads rating is 4.11, and I give it 4 out of 5. Number 11 is Worst Best Man. I know I've said this like 10 times already, but this book was a lot of fun. It's about a wedding, obviously, and the groom gets kidnapped. And there's all kinds of shenanigans and mix-ups. There are some nefarious characters. And the maid of honor and the best man have to team up to fix everything. Definitely enemies to lovers. It also takes place on a tropical island, so the setting is just lush and romantic and wonderful. The Goodreads rating is 4.09, and I give it a 4 out of 5. All right, we are up to number 11. This is where things start getting tricky because from here on in, They are all so good. I really had trouble jostling them into position for rankings because Lucy Score really hits her stride with the next series I'm going to talk about, and I bet you know which one it is. At number 10 is Lucy Score's Things We Left Behind. This is the third book in the Knock 'em Out series. The Knock 'em Out series is what put Lucy Score on the bestseller map. She'd had scads of books before this that did really well, but this is the series that made her kind of a rom-com household name. Things We Left Behind follows one of the couples introduced in the other books, Lucian Rawlins and Sloane Walton. Sloane Walton is this vivacious, quirky, sexy librarian, and I love her. And Lucian Rawlins is this broody, dark billionaire with a dark past, and they grew up together as neighbors. So it's a little bit friends to lovers, a little bit enemies to lovers, and definitely second chance romance. I really liked this one because, again, it's got that broody Lucian Rawlins in it. But sometimes it got frustrating waiting for the two of them to figure stuff out. It has a 4.42 rating on Goodreads, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. At number 9, we have Things We Hide from the Light, which is about Nash, the sheriff, and Lena. Nash and Lena end up as neighbors, apartments right next to each other, which allows for a lot of great interaction. I really like Nash, the character. He falls for Lena pretty much right away and makes his intentions known. I love it when the male main character is the first to fall. That's one of my favorite tropes. Lena has secrets, though, that she feels is keeping her from him. And I've mentioned how I feel about secrets. So to me, this was a pretty good secret, but it did get a little bit like, sometimes. What I really liked about Things We Hide from the Light is that there's a great action sequence, and this is the book when all of the characters from the first book really start to gel and become friends or found family. Things We Hide from a Light has a 4.05 reading on Goodreads, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. How am I doing so far with my rankings for Lucy Score novels? Tell me in the comments what you think. Now here we take a pause in the Knock 'em Out series so I can slip By a Thread in there. I loved By a Thread. Now By a Thread was the second Lucy Score book I read after Forever Never. And By a Thread was the book that convinced me that Lucy Score was a must-buy author for me. I love this story. Again, it's got the grumpy sunshine trope that I love. It's got a little bit of friends to lovers, a little bit enemies to lovers. Dominic is a billionaire, and he ends up hiring Allie because he got her fired at one of her many, many jobs. This is a great book. It walks a fine line between having her be saved by him and all of his money and her establishing her independence. And she's the only one, of course, who can really run her mouth at him. That part I really liked. By a Thread has a 4.09 rating on Goodreads, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. At lucky number 7 is Things We Never Got Over, the big one, the first book in the Knock 'em Out series. I put off reading this book. I saw it everywhere all the time because sometimes when something is hyped a lot, I tend not to want to read it because I think there's no way it can live up to the hype. And I will admit the first part of the book kind of dragged a little bit for me. I mean, let me back up and give you the premise. Naomi shows up in Knock 'em Out in a wedding gown with daisies in her hair. And it turns out she has a identical twin sister living in the same town. So for a long part of the book, people kept thinking that she was her sister, who is a terrible person. Now, a few times I found it funny, but after a while, in a town this size where everyone knows everything about everybody, I found it hard to believe that people still thought she was her twin. There's a lot going on in this book. We've got the enemies to lovers. We've got somebody who becomes a mother all of a sudden because she adopts her niece. We get introduced to everybody in town, and we get introduced to the main mystery. Now, Knox is a main male character for the ages. He is alpha male all the way, and he's probably the main reason I loved this book. The setting is fantastic, too. Knock 'em Out sounds like an ideal town. I ended up absolutely loving this book, even though I felt like the beginning dragged a little bit. It was fantastic. It has a 4.15 rating on Goodreads, and I gave it a 4 out of 5. Now we get into the countdown where all of the rest of my ratings are 5 out of 5. At number 6 is Rock Bottom Girl. This is a standalone that Lucy Score wrote, and I did not expect to like it as much as I did. Marley is a woman who's been downsized. She's still single. She's got no prospects, and she ends up moving back in with her parents. And she winds up taking a job as a gym teacher and a soccer coach, which was definitely not on her bingo card. And it turns out her high school crush, Jake Weston, is still single. There's a lot that goes on in this book about her discovery, about her identity, and Jake helps her along the way. And because of that relationship, she helps him a little bit get his life together. There's a big Thanksgiving dinner involved that's a lot of fun. I really, really enjoyed this book, and I was hoping it was the first in a series. I gave this a 5 out of 5, and Goodreads gives it 4.27. At number 5 is The Christmas Fix. This is the second book in the King Siblings series that, again, only has 2 books in it, but I accidentally read it first because it was Christmas time and I really wanted to read it. I loved this book. I really, really enjoyed the characters of Noah and Kat. I loved their story. I loved that she had a little secret about what she knew about him and he didn't know. Normally I don't like secrets, but this was a good one. Everything about this was great. He's a single dad, and I usually don't like single parent rom-coms because it's too much stress. But this one, for some reason, was very light and it worked. I don't know why this isn't a bigger hit, because I got to tell you, I really liked this. And if you're looking for Christmas time fun, The Christmas Fix has all that and more. I give this a 5 out of 5, but Goodreads only gives it a 3.97. I think those folks are wrong. Okay, now we come to my favorite Lucy Score series. And this actually is a series. There's 4 books so far. And basically, I just ordered them oldest to newest. So the first one is The Dead Guy Next Door. This is the Riley Thorn series. So Dead Guy Next Door is the first one in it. And it's about Riley Thorn, who is a reluctant psychic. And she ends up getting tracked down by Nick Santiago, a private investigator. The whole series, I'm just going to lay it out for you. So we've got Dead Guy Next Door at number 4. We've got Riley Thorn and the Corpse in the Closet at number 3. We've got Riley Thorn and A Blast from the Past at number 2. And at number 1, the most recent one, The Body in the Backyard. I'm not going to go into the plot of each one of these books. It would be difficult. But basically the series is about Riley Thorn, who is a reluctant psychic and lives in a house. She rents a room with all of these elderly, quirky characters. She meets Nick Santiago, a private investigator, who mistakenly thinks she has something to do with a death across the hall from her. She gets mixed up in the investigation. He's trying to keep her out of it, and it turns out he's an ex-cop, so his ex-cop partner is also investigating, and he's trying to keep both of them out. There's continuous humor, continuous action, and her exploring her psychic abilities and being reluctant, her crazy family, his crazy family. Just about everyone in these books is loco, except for Riley and Nick, although you could say by association they're just as nutso as the rest of them, and I highly, highly recommend them. In fact, I encourage you to run out and get all 4. Take a day, take 4 days, whatever, and just burn through them because they are so chef's kiss good. So again, at number 1 is the most recent Riley Thorn book, The Body in the Backyard. Lucy Score's books are the perfect escape. They're filled with love and laughter and just the right amount of chaos. But I want to hear from you. Which of Lucy Score's books is your favorite? Drop it in the comments and let me know. If you liked this video at all, if you found anything to add to your TBR, give me a thumbs up. And then I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Because once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to have a live Ask Me Anything about being an independent author, about books, about whatever is on your mind. And there will be giveaways.